Today, I want to talk about the story of resilience and courage shown by a very patriotic citizen of Nigeria. Now, this particular citizen, a lot of us know him, and as I'm going to call this name now, it's going to ring a bell in a lot of people's consciousness and so on. But Gen Z might not know this person. So that's why I always encourage Gen Z to please take your histories very serious. Try to make researches and know well where you're coming from so that you can have an idea of where you're going to. In this Purpose and Passion series, we have so much to learn from the lives of individuals. Now, enough of that. Let's talk about someone called Yakubu Aiyegbeni. I told you it was going to ring a bell in the consciousness of a lot of persons. Yakubu Aiyegbeni was actually an ex-Super Eagles player who plied his trade in Israel and in Portsmouth in the UK, that's in the English Premier League. He was a very, very great striker. Yakubu Aiyegbeni was just too much. And I coined the name Yak. Well, I used to feel the name Yak was actually coined from Yakubu, but no. Actually, it was because of his physical attributes. He was well built, robust, strong. He had a low CG, though he had a good height. He had a physical build, very muscular. And the strange thing about it was that he was pacey. Despite his build, he was quite pacey. He was lethal in striking. Anywhere he played, he was known, he actually delivered in terms of goals. The guy was just too much. There was everything going for him. He played in the Olympic Games for Nigeria. He played in how many Nations Cups? Like I've lost count. He played in the World Cup. Yakubu Aiyegbeni was a very, very great striker. He never failed to deliver as long as you wanted goals. Count him Yakubu. And Yakubu actually appeared on the national scene at the time when the late Rashid Yekini was quitting the scene. And Nigerians were looking for that strong built, well physical, fast pacey striker. And when Yakubu came on the scene, he fit that description and he didn't fail to deliver. I've kept saying he kept delivering. Yakubu Aiyegbeni was just a very, very great player. But now, something happened. In 2010, in this World Cup, FIFA World Cup held in South Africa, Nigeria needed to qualify from there. And so they were playing this game with South Korea. Nigeria just needed to win this game to be able to make it into the next round. And the whole nation, everyone was, watching that the fate of 200 and something million persons in the citizens of the country depended on these 11 players on the pitch. And Yakubu Aiyegbeni was one of them. In the 63rd second, Ayela Yusuf crossed the ball to Yakubu, and Yakubu had an open net. The goalkeeper was not there, the defenders were not there, it was just Yakubu and an open net. All he needed to do was just to tap the ball into the net. As a matter of fact, people have even said if you place the stick at that point and Ayela crossed that ball, the stick will even divert the ball into the net. Yakubu only needed to just tap that ball. Unfortunately, tragedy struck. The ball went wide. Nigerians had never, ever in their history seen such a miss before. We'd seen misses, but this was inexplicable. Nobody could just believe what just happened before their very eyes. And this was a game that had to decide the fate of Nigeria qualifying for the next round. Unfortunately, Yakubu missed that goal. I still see that moment till this day when he looked up at the screen and he was chewing gum. A lot of people were so angry. Why was he chewing gum? He didn't look repentant. Spare me. One thing in life is that one bleak moment makes people forget everything good you have ever done in life. That's life for you. They'll never recognize you or remember you for all the good you've done. It's just one blow. That's what they remember you for. They didn't even know Yakubu, who had laid down his life on several locations for this country. He was judged by that. But anyway, that's not the story. Now, he missed that goal in the 63rd minute. In the 69th minute of that match, Nigeria was awarded a penalty. Guess who stepped up to take the penalty? Yakubu Aiyegbeni. I'll never forget that day. The commentator, the guy running the commentary shouted, "Oh no, Nigeria not again. Yakubu Aiyegbeni." But that's not a business. Yakubu stepped up, scored that penalty. Unfortunately, that match ended on a 2-2 all draw, but it wasn't enough to qualify Nigeria for the next round. But you know the lesson I learned there? Do you know what it took that young man? After missing a penalty after missing a sitter 6 minutes earlier, to come up on the 69th minute and accept to take a penalty, what was going through his head? The whole nation was yearning for his head. Bloodsuckers wanted to drink his blood raw. It was crazy. Nigerians all over the world had not forgiven him. I don't know what pictures were going through his mind. How was he going to be received back in his country? How will he be received in the airport? What kind of information was going to go around about him? The paper headlines, everything. But he still developed, he still had the courage. Penalties that a lot of players avoid and run from, even very notable great players. Yakubu picked this ball and slotted it calmly into the net. Nigeria didn't win the match, but Nigeria won a hero that day. Yakubu was able to do that. It took a lot of courage and resilience to be able to do such. I wouldn't do that for all the tea in China, no matter what you pay me. That level of courage, because some persons, at the point they missed that sitter, that's where it would have ended emotionally for them. They would have become emotional wrecks at that moment. But not Yakubu Aiyegbeni. He picked the ball and slotted it in. People keep remembering Yakubu for the loss, but people do not remember that he still scored in that same match. He did. What if another player had taken that penalty, even if Nigeria didn't win that match? Maybe it was not enough to qualify Nigeria. But what if someone else had taken it and missed? There's nothing we would have had that day. But he still went up and did that. Everybody keeps remembering you for your wrong, but they don't remember you for the right. They remember you for all the good you do for people. It's thrown down the trash bin. The trash can. But one moment of mistakes or error, they will never remember. They throw everything good you've done down the trash can. They will never remember the good you've done over all the years. Yakubu Aiyegbeni. That's a story of courage and resilience. It takes a lot in this journey of purpose and passion, many times, to fail and drag yourself back up in the midst of your failure, not waiting for the wave of the failure to cross, but in the midst of your failure, picking yourself takes resilience and courage. It took a lot of courage to score that kind of goal. There's something else you don't know. This young man was supposed to play the 2002 World Cup, but because of some problems then, in the national team and the NFA, I don't know if it was NFA then, or what they are called NFF now. And Sunday Olise, one of the greatest captains Nigeria ever had, was trying to fight for justice for his players. And Yakubu stood on the path of justice. But because of it, they were denied the opportunity to play in that World Cup. But he still came back in 2010 and played the World Cup. I must doff my hat for someone like Yakubu Aiyegbeni. I see a hero. I see someone who is courageous. I see someone who is resilient. And I admire that courage. And it's a moral lesson to all of us pursuing our passion, our dreams, and our goals. Anything you're doing in this life, make sure in anything you're doing, you will fail many times. It's not the failure that matters. It's your ability to pick yourself in the midst of the failure and still trudge on, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, believing in your goals, believing in your purpose. It takes a lot of courage and resilience. Without it, fulfillment is completely impossible. So once more, this guy was a great lesson, and I pray that we also learn those qualities. Please follow me on my YouTube channel, Kingsley TV. Subscribe there. Subscribe is the word to encourage me a lot. I'm a normal man here, man, trying to give someone out a reason to stay alive and a purpose for living. Thank you.